Hi everyone. With me today I have Tem, who has been a teacher for 15 years and has had a podcast that helps other teachers thrive. Tem, welcome. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Brilliant. You have had, you do such a broad thing with teaching, and I always think teaching is one of these professions that's totally underrated in this country, particularly because you don't just teach, you tend to be like a social worker, a counsellor, a carer, um, everything and anything that's needed by your children and by their family sometimes. So what has your teaching journey been like?
It's been a roller coaster. It's been very up and down. I always knew I wanted to be a teacher. Actually, it might be a bit of a lie. From the age of 16, I knew I wanted to be a PE teacher. Before that, I wanted to be an air hostess. Don't know why.
Why not?
I used to travel a lot with my parents. I thought, that seems quite fun to do. And then just after that, I wanted to become a physiotherapist because
Okay.
I love the body. I love anatomy and physiology. Did a sport and exercise science degree at university. And then I did my PGCE because I just thought I love both. I can't choose between the two. But I suppose my love for sport and for PE, well, PE specifically, came about as a student when I was just doing my GCSEs, finishing it off. And I thought, actually, I'd quite like to teach because I liked helping people anyway. I ran a football club at lunchtime when I was
Cool.
17 at school, and I thought this is something that I really enjoy doing. So I'll give it a go. I'll do my sports science degree first, get that out of the way, and then do my PGCE. Now the reason I say it's a bit of a roller coaster because it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy at the beginning. It was hard being a teacher. I got a job in a very large school. I'm still there now. I left for a couple of years, but I'm back. Quite a large school, mixed school, and it was very difficult behaviours when I started. And yeah, it was a roller coaster. I had a quite bad class. I think I was given probably the worst class at the time. I had kids swearing at me, threatening me. So it was hard to begin with. But once I settled in after a few years, sort of picked up strategies from other colleagues and observed other people and started to copy what they were doing a little bit more, it became a bit easier, let's say. But in terms of the pressures on teachers, that's progressively gotten worse. That's increased.
Mm.
So now it's more overwhelming, a lot more pressures, giving up a lot of time after school, all this unpaid overtime, which I suppose I didn't really notice when I started teaching because I was still living at home. I wasn't married or anything like that. I didn't have any children. Now, 15 years later, I've got a son, happily married, and like it's a lot of time constraints. I'm thinking I'm coming home at 5:30, sometimes 6. I get to work at 7:30. It's just sometimes I feel like it's constantly working. But over the time, I've learned strategies to separate my work and my life, sort of thing. So last few years, I'd say it's gone a lot better, easier for me to separate work and life. But yeah, it's been a fun roller coaster. Lots of ups and downs.
You don't know this. I was a teacher for a whole year. Um,
Oh wow.
at a comprehensive in Newcastle. It was a brilliant, brilliant school, but I realised then that it wasn't for me because I loved the kids. I hated homework.
Mm.
I hated marking. I hated lesson planning. Actually, I didn't entirely hate lesson planning, but I do think that to stay in the profession for this long, as you have, and many of my friends have, it takes more than just a love of teaching because the demands have gone up, expectations have gone up. You had the whole pandemic thing, but that was fun for you.
That was probably the worst few years of my teaching career. I think that were really hard.
I mean, I was a school governor at the time, and I remember of a primary school. And when we could bring all the kids back, I remember basically the year threes, so like the 4 and 5 year olds, they were pretty much feral. A lot of them, they couldn't stay in their seats. They hadn't been taught this. They hadn't got a lot of the social skills. And you saw, particularly in the primary school, and I can't talk about the secondary schools, but we saw that kind of repeated a little bit throughout each of the year groups to a lesser and greater extent, depending on what they'd been through during those pandemic years. And as a teacher, it's overwhelming because also you've gone from that bubble back into reality, and it's probably a worse reality than when you left it.
Yes, it's not been easy. I think the biggest thing I've seen that's come out of the pandemic is the number of like kids that are struggling with anxiety, really struggling with social anxieties. We still have attendance issues to this day. but there are just a lot of children that, like, to be able to just stand up and present something in class or just work as a group in class, they find it really, really difficult. And yeah, like you said, they were in lockdown for so long that to now come out of that, it's just they're struggling to find their feet, so to speak. They're struggling to sort of come out of their shells a little bit and trust people around them. So it's not easy. It's really difficult seeing the kids really struggling with anxiety. We've got a number of kids on timeout passes that need timeout class for regulation because they just can't cope with the stresses in the classroom. Like there's a lot when you've got 36 kids in a room. It's not easy for them. It's really hard. So yeah, I really feel for them. It's really difficult.
And what age group do you teach now?
I teach 11 to 18-year-olds in secondary school.
So, and again, you're seeing the same kind of challenges in that age group as well, obviously, which is a bit insane. So you talked about those coping strategies. So what have you had to do or shift in yourself to get to the place now where you can kind of go to work each day and not have to lock yourself in a room and cry in a corner for a few hours?
To be honest, although I cared a lot about my students, I cared about every single one of them. And when you go home, you're constantly thinking about them all the time and constantly thinking, how can you get them better grades? What can you do for them? What can you put in place to help them? And that is what teachers really struggle with. And I've learned that when I leave school, my family now come first. Like I think of my son, my husband, my family life, because I care about the kids so much, but I can't constantly be thinking all the time about, well, what if. That's what drives teachers mad. You go and sleep thinking about them, you're waking up thinking about them, and the holidays you're thinking about them. It's hard. So I've taught myself that when I leave work, I leave work. Now I'm going home and I take my son to football, so I'm getting out there and doing other stuff, going bike riding. I have my podcast now to keep me busy, which is brilliant because that at least I'm still in teaching, I'm still helping people, but it's at least I'm not worrying and thinking about the pressures of school and what do I have to do next, and then marking and all these different pressures that we have as teachers. So that's definitely something that I've gotten better at, separating work from home, having something to do when I get home, and spending time with my son, playing games with him, doing things with him so that I can forget about what's going on at work and sort of leave work at work. The marking, eventually I'll hopefully only do that at school, but because I'm a PE teacher, I do clubs and matches after school, so I can't just sit there and mark. I wish I could for an hour or two, but I can't. So that still has to come home with me, of course. Lesson planning, because I've been teaching for so long, it's easier. I've got resources, I've got plans that I don't have to do things from scratch, luckily, which is why collaboration is so important as teachers. But yeah, just having that schedule, having set times of completing things at work, and when you leave work, that's it, leave it there, go home, do things you relax and enjoy. That's helped me a lot.
Brilliant. And I think actually those are the lessons that other people need to hear as well, right? Because I know that I work from home most of the time and I love it, but I also appreciate leaving my home now, because if you're there all the time, you can go a bit crazy. But it's the boundary setting that is really important. And I really struggled for a long time as well to separate work and home, because like when I was at home, my work was there. So I would just work some more. And if you're naturally inclined to work anyway, it's quite easy habit to slip into. But just like you, I realized that my boundaries were not right to serve me and to allow me to de-stress, to allow me to decompress. And I think people forget that the brain needs that time to step back anyway. You know, it needs time to process, it needs time to piece together all the chaos of the day. And you need to give it that time. So whether you're a teacher or anybody really, I think that the discipline that you have taught yourself is something that everyone can probably do with. Whether or not we want to admit it is another thing.
Yes, very true.
And with the kids then, so how do you see their journeys? Because obviously, I think, and in some of the groups that obviously you and I know each other through different business groups, and I see in those groups sometimes people who are very dismissive of the school system, and they're like, it doesn't work and it's built for Victorian times. And on one hand, I'm like, yes. The other hand, I'm like, well, what else is there really? You know, what are our options, and how do we, and what is best for the child? And I'm always torn as someone who truly believes in education. What is that? What does education need to look like? And my experience with teaching and with children in general is, you know, not everyone's academic, and that's okay. Some people are more manual based, some people are, you know, really good tradesmen. But I wonder now, in this current world where you have the internet overload, and whereas you wanted to be an air hostess, which to me was totally glamorous, I totally get it. You know, you often see them going, I want to be an influencer, I want to be a YouTube star. And in one hand, I'm like, well, there's nothing wrong with that, because that is a way of making money, and hey, we all need money. But the other hand, is that the right path for them to go down? And what sort of struggles do you see with your kids, especially in that age group that you're dealing with?
They really struggle with understanding the importance of certain things. So one student once said, well, why would I need maths, miss? What's the point? I don't need maths. I've got a calculator. I don't know algebra when I leave here. Like, what's the point? And it's really hard, because on one hand, I'm trying to be a teacher going, well, it's really important. You need maths. You need mental arithmetic. You need to, I said to him, if you start a business one day, you need to calculate your percentage increases. You're going to need to measure things if you want to potentially become an architect, or if they're working in construction. I try and relate it as much as possible to their real life, but then on the other hand, I get what they're saying, because I mean, I can't remember last time I used algebra when I left school, but it's just trying to provide them with real life examples of how that actually is going to apply to you later on in life. Like English as well. I've had students go, miss, I can speak English. Why am I studying it? And yeah. So we try and explain to them that, well, actually, it's not just about being able to speak English. It's also about being able to write letters and write emails that are professional, write contracts, read your contracts, understand, be able to comprehend what you're reading later on in life, whatever they go into. Because I'm not a typical teacher, so to speak. Like, I don't think that university is the route. That's it. You've got to get your GCSEs, A levels, get good grades, go to university, do an apprenticeship degree, whatever it is, go to college. I don't think that's not for every child. It's not. And I can see that with my students. And I'll say to them, look, you can think about businesses now. At the age of 13, start thinking about businesses. Like, it's something that's could benefit you later on in life. You might not want to go to university. You might not want to become a plumber or an engineer or anything like that. Just find what you're good at and hone in on those skills and those talents. So I do have kids that are really good on the computer and are really good with media and like videos and all sorts. And they could probably be amazing influencers one day. You never know. So I don't believe in. We do have to help our children understand the importance of education. We do, and that's what we do as teachers. Trying to explain to them why certain things are really, really important. But at the same time, not restricting their direction, like the understanding that they can go off in all sorts of different directions. We don't know, but yes, they do need to do their GCSE and do need to get grades. I had one student who just wants to be a footballer. I said, look, that's fantastic. Keep training, but you need your GCSEs. I said, what happens if you get injured one day? What are you going to fall back on? Like, you need those grades just in case, and anything can happen. You don't know where life's going to take you. So keep training, aim for that goal, but you still need to get your GCSEs done and get your grades. So yeah, it's not all about pushing kids to university. That's not where they're all going to go. We just need to encourage them to find their strengths, or help them identify their strengths, and just to keep working on them and use them to their advantage, really.
Definitely. And actually, do you ever watch Welcome to Wrexham? One of my little side passions. But in that, one of the things they're doing is teaching the footballers to build their own businesses for that very reason, because those careers are limited. And you might get paid, I mean, it depends on what league you're in, you might get paid millions of pounds, you might get hundreds of pounds, you might only get tens of thousands of pounds. But I love the idea of education. It shows you your options, but not every option you have to take. And that is the thing. But if you have that base of understanding around maths, around English, around science, how the world works, you will go further, because, like you say, you're a better communicator. You understand the contracts, you understand the numbers. And of course, you and I both know that adulting is way overrated some days. Like, if anyone knew what adulting was actually like, they might not sign up for it. But when you're a child, I think you're often so eager to grow up, aren't you? And to do the next thing and to get to that place that you're going to. And of course, life isn't linear, and every journey has its ups and downs. And like you say, even with your teaching journey, you've had to learn different behaviours to make sure that you are kept whole and sane and well. And people, I think, underestimate the fact that we keep learning all our lives in different ways. But if you get that thirst for knowledge at a young age, then you're never going to be stuck, because you can always learn something new, try something new. And I think what you're doing is helping those kids to go, maybe university isn't my thing, but if I get the basics right, I've always got options.
Yeah, 100%. If you've got those grades there and you decide later on that you want to go to university, or you want to go into down a different avenue, you've got the choice to do that. I think what we're probably not doing as well in schools is to do with reading. I mean, we have a reading program with our kids, which is brilliant. It's improving their reading skills, their comprehension skills, but it's not helping them love reading. Like they're not
Right.
reading what they want to read, what they're interested in. And I think that's where we're going wrong slightly. We should be providing them with books that they may want to read. We should be giving them books where they're learning certain things, whether it's business books or accounting or mindset. That's a big one. Like we should be providing books on mindset for our kids in schools, because they'll learn as they're reading, and then they'll develop a love for reading. I think that's probably something that I can't speak for all schools, but we need to improve a little bit more on, I think, definitely.
I think reading, I remember when I was a kid, didn't have computers, didn't have phones. I read and I played outside. That was my thing. Actually, that and Disney films. But reading outside and Disney films. But I don't read as much as in my head, I want to be reading. And I find that what happens instead is this little machine comes my way, and I'm distracted on the phone. Or because I work from home a lot, I end up doing just one more thing at the computer, and then suddenly it's 9 o'clock. I'm like, well, I've got to go to bed now because I'm old. I think, but for me, I know that I love reading, and I'm so grateful that I had that childhood where I could just read everything and anything, and there was no alternative to reading. And while I also love what technology brings to us, and I love how the internet can open up a whole world of knowledge to us, sometimes I'm still working on my own discipline around not having IT on, going to the book instead of the phone. Like it's a total habit that I have got into. I think many of us got into. And I wonder again if part of the challenge with children now is they go to the phones in many cases, so they haven't had that foundation in the joy of reading for reading's sake. The only reason some of them, not everyone, the only reason that some of them do is, well, we have to do it for school, and therefore it's rubbish. I don't know how you overcome that.
It's really difficult. I mean, my school's is doing this competition over the summer where if they read a certain number of books, they'll get £10 Amazon voucher. So
Cool.
I mean, it's a good incentive because at least they get to read books that they want to read. They have to write a review on it, I think, or a presentation. I can't remember, to enter the competition. But that is something that's good because you're encouraging the kids to read. But like you said, they've got computers, they've got TVs, they've got phones that they're just picking up their phones all the time and reading and not actually reading the book.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I'm not knocking it. Phones are great. Internet's fantastic. You can learn everything and anything you need from the internet. Well, majority of things. YouTube, you can learn a new skill. You can.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think we need to educate our kids a little more in terms of the importance of books and the knowledge you can get from books that could potentially change their lives. It could take them off in a completely different direction that they never knew about. So I read a book called The Magic of Thinking Big a couple of years ago, and it just blew my mind. It just completely changed the way I saw things and my thinking. I thought this is amazing. Like, our kids need to know this. I bought that book for my niece actually for Christmas. I thought it's just there are so many good books out there that will open our kids' minds and help them with the struggles that they're having, with the mindset issues, for example, and just open up a whole new world for them. So yeah, definitely. I don't know how. We just need to try and get our kids into books as much as possible. It's really difficult.
No, I love that. I want to ask you about your podcast. So what I know obviously that's a distraction for you when you go home, so you're not working, but it kind of is working. A little bit of work.
Yeah.
But what made you start the podcast?
Well, I started it because I was mentoring trainee teachers anyway. And I saw like the struggles that they were going through. I had one specific trainee a couple of years ago who was really struggling with the workload, with trying to learn to be a teacher as well as on the go. And I just thought, like, why? This isn't fair that there are teachers out there struggling. And there are so many teachers, I can't remember the percentage, 42 or something like that. There's teachers that are planning on leaving the profession after the first 5 years. I thought, like, that's not fair. Why are teachers not getting the support that they need? And yeah, trainee teachers in schools, ECTs, they're called early career teachers in the UK. They have mentors, but their mentors are heads of departments, colleagues, senior leaders. They're busy. So sometimes they can't give them the time that they need, the dedication that they need to succeed. So that is really why I started my podcast. I rebranded it. It's Helping Teachers Thrive. It's been going for a year now, and it's just weekly episodes on strategies to help teachers to increase their confidence, develop their skills, and thrive in the classroom and increase their chance of progression. So it's bite-sized CPD, really. And on a side note, I suppose, but another reason why I started it was because the kids are struggling. The kids are struggling because the teachers are struggling. We're
Mm.
the ones who have to create that learning environment for the kids to be able to thrive in themselves. And I don't mean academically. Yeah, they might want to get A stars and A's. But like I said earlier, we need to help our kids with things like presentation skills and be able to communicate and deal with conflict and be a team leader and public speaking. So that's partly why I started as well, to help the teachers, but so that I can help the kids too. So it is, yeah, you're right. It's like working, but I love it. It's really fun. It's really enjoyable to do.
If you love it, it's not work.
No,
That's it.
I mean, I love teaching too. I just don't like all the paperwork that comes with it.
No, I hear you, and I completely agree. That's amazing. And I love the fact, and I think it's important to call out the fact that you can only help others when you yourself are okay. And what we're doing is entrusting teachers with, 30, 35, 36, in some cases, size of class, where, like I said at the start, you are everything to some of those kids. You can be their pseudo parent, their childminder, their social worker, and it's a lot. And I think sometimes people forget that it is a lot. And when you get, I remember the brief time in my teaching, I'd meet, you had those. I actually used to really love the naughty kids because they had loads of personality. But I would meet their parents and I'd know exactly why the kid was that way. And that's, without even having children, I was like, this is why. And of course, they'd come into my office and they'd like, rant and rage, and we'd have to calm it all down. And then, because they hadn't learned those communication skills, or their stress cup was filled before they even got to school because of their day jobs and whatever else they're doing. And I think recognizing again that teachers are actually kind of this linchpin that keeps a lot of the world sane. So by being that daycare, by being that champion of children and everything else. But if you as a teacher are struggling and feeling overwhelmed, then of course you can't give your best to the kids because your cup is full. You've got nothing left to give.
And that's what's not scary, but sad, I suppose, that we are everything to these kids. There are kids that come to us from all sorts of walks of life. And it's not their parents' fault. Their parents are working hard. They might have 2 jobs. They might not see their parents that often in the evenings. They may have parents regularly at home that they see regularly, but the child is still quite anxious, for example, because of whatever's happened at home or on the way to school, even not just at home, on the bus or walking to school. We're dealing with things all the time. These kids are dealing with things all the time. And teachers we're just doing our best. We're just doing what we can to support these children the best way that we can, by providing them with that safe learning environment, but also just listening to them, and then of course asking for support from colleagues that are more qualified. Like when we go to us, our DSL, our designated safeguard lead, and we go to them and make them aware of certain situations that we're concerned about. And it's hard. Teaching is exhausting because you're having to be all these different things for these kids in front of you. And if you're a parent yourself, it's all about trying to always having in mind that what teacher would I want my child to have in front of them? What sort of teacher would I want for my child? So that's what I've always got to think about when I'm teaching. Like, I've got to be the teacher that I want for my child, because it's not fair. But it's hard. Like, we're trying to be the best that we can for all our students, but things happen in our lives, and then we sort of might be derailed a little bit, or stressed, or something goes on, and we just can't be the person we are. And sometimes we end up snapping at kids and realize, actually, no, I shouldn't have done that. That's happened. That happens. We're human. But for teachers, it's just about collaborating, about going to colleagues, asking for help, asking for support, because we can't be the superhero all of the time. We can't, and we deserve better, and so do the students.
Definitely. Now, if you had to start again, and with the hindsight that you have now, what sort of lessons would you pass on to your old, future, past self? I don't know how to phrase that in time. What would you tell yourself that you now know, or what would you tell a new teacher? Perhaps is a better way to ask the question.
Wow, yeah, new teacher. I would say, don't take anything personally, ever. See everything as a challenge, as an opportunity, not a challenge. See everything as an opportunity to grow, because there are going to be times when you'll be observed and you'll get the worst feedback ever, and you think, oh my God, I'm a rubbish teacher. What am I doing here? Why am I doing this? Well, actually, that's how you shouldn't see it. Always see the positive in the situation. Right? What can I learn from this then? Well, what do I need to do to get better? What are the opportunities here, so that you can progress and improve? So don't take anything personally. Put yourself first. Like I said earlier, it's so easy for us to put all our students first. Like, they matter because we want to make sure they have the best opportunities in life and they get the best grades and they have the strongest skill set so they can go off and do amazing things. But you can't pour from an empty cup. So you need to look after yourself first. I think that's what, as teachers, we struggle a lot. I see it on Facebook groups all the time. Teachers worrying, stressed, going on work-related stress because of just the ovals. That's just so overwhelmed with so much, and it's not fair. So definitely take time for yourself. If you can try and get stuff done at work and not take it home, fantastic. Fortunate teachers, we do have to do stuff at home. But it's really important to put yourself first. That's something I didn't really realize when I first started teaching, because I just gave my career my all and I didn't think, well, actually, I need to look after myself to be able to be the best teacher that I can be. So yeah, don't take anything personal, and definitely take time to do things that are just for you. But self-care every day on a daily basis is really important for teachers.
Definitely. No, brilliant. And what about parents who are worried about their children's education and worried if teachers are paying enough attention? What would you like parents to understand about teachers that perhaps they sometimes forget?
That's a very good question. I would say that parents just need to understand that sometimes teachers are working back to back, lesson after lesson after lesson. There are some teachers that have intervention in the morning from 8 o'clock till 8:45, then they've got lessons all day, or intervention after school till 4:30. So it is difficult. It's hard. And we have lots of students in every lesson. So we're trying to do our best for every single child. So I think that's probably what I'd say to parents, just sort of understand that we are doing our best. It's not easy. And we've got lots of children's lives, I suppose, in our hands, you could say. We are trying to do the best for every single one. And just sort of reach out to the teacher if you have got a concern. But do it in a way that's sort of opening up lines of communication where you can work together with the teacher for your child. I'd probably say the same thing for teachers. It's really important for us to open up those lines of communication. Send an email home at the start of the year, just introducing yourself, just so you can support the parent, because parents are struggling as well, and just to give them that guidance. But that's what I found the most. If you've opened up those lines of communication from the very beginning as a teacher, it makes things a lot easier going forwards. So if you do have to contact the parent because of something that their child's done, disruptive lesson in a lesson, they're more supportive because you've already started that. You tried to build that positive relationship already. But also, as teachers, we should also be phoning home and letting them know about the brilliant things that their child is doing, because that's really important. I mean, as a parent, you want to hear that. You want to know that your child's doing really, really well, and like, you're doing a really good job as a parent. It's not easy being a parent in this day and age, or being a child in this day and age. But yeah, that's probably what I would say, just for parents to understand that there are difficulties that we're also dealing with as teachers, and we're trying our best, and we just want to have a mutually beneficial relationship.
Love that. Tem, thank you ever so much. If people want to find you, how can they find you? I'll put links below, obviously, but tell the audience.
They can find me on all the social media platforms, under Tem Azimakai or Tem's Teaching Tips, but also my podcast, which is on all of the podcast platforms, Helping Teachers Thrive. You can find it anywhere, and download and listen on any of the platforms.
Perfect. Thank you very much. You've been wonderful, and I will speak to you again before too long, I imagine.
Thank you. It's been amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.